Some of our most powerful memories are from when we were kids. But what happens when those memories are of the very first time you came face to face with real injustice? Today, we're going to dive into two incredible autobiographical stories from two women who, as children, encountered systemic oppression and in those moments planted the first seeds of a lifelong rebellion.
So take a look at this. On one side, you have a young girl who's literally trapped, about to be stripped of her identity. And on the other, a child whose innocent laughter is about to turn into pure anger as she watches a humiliating ritual unfold. These aren't just stories, right? They're these raw, powerful windows into that exact moment when a child first understands the cruelty of the world and decides in their own way they're going to fight back. So, let's meet our two storytellers. First, we have Zitkala-Sa, a Native American writer from the late 19th century who was fighting against forced assimilation. And then we have Bama, a contemporary Tamil Dalit writer confronting the deep-rooted injustices of the caste system. I mean, we're talking two different centuries, two different continents, but a shared, profound struggle for basic human dignity.
Okay, let's start with Zitkala-Sa. We're going to zero in on her absolutely harrowing first day at the Carlisle Indian School, an institution that was literally designed to erase her entire culture.
Just try to imagine it for a second. You're a little kid, and you're suddenly thrown into this world you cannot understand. For her, school wasn't a place of learning. She called it a bedlam of crashing bells, clattering shoes, and a language she'd never heard. Right from that very first moment, she says she felt her spirit was securely tied, like a prisoner in this strange new land.
Her terror really kicks into high gear when her friend Judwin warns her the pale-faced woman is planning to cut their long, heavy hair. Now, you have to understand, for her people, hair was sacred. It was a symbol of their identity. Short hair, that was for mourners. And shingled hair, crudely chopped off, that was a mark of shame, worn only by captured warriors who were seen as cowards. So to cut her hair, it was like severing her connection to her mother, her people, her entire identity.
Now, her friend Judwin just kind of gives up. She says, "We have to submit because they are strong." But for Zitkala-Sa, this is the breaking point. This is the exact moment where all that fear transforms into pure defiance. She decides right then and there that she is not going to be a passive victim. She is going to fight.
And this is her desperate act of rebellion. She creeps away from everyone and finds an empty, dark room and hides herself under a bed. Can you even imagine the fear? Huddled there in the dark, hearing her name being called out, the footsteps getting closer and closer, knowing she's being hunted like an animal, but still refusing to give in.
But of course, her struggle ends in capture. They find her, drag her out kicking and scratching, and literally tie her to a chair. The way she describes it is just brutal. She doesn't just say they cut her hair, she says she felt the cold blades gnaw off one of my thick braids. In that moment, her spirit is just crushed. She feels she's no longer a person, but one of many little animals driven by a herder. Okay, now we're going to shift gears completely. We're moving from the cold terror of Zitkala-Sa's experience to the vibrant, sun-filled streets of Bama's childhood in South India.
So for young Bama, the 10-minute walk home from school was this spectacular journey that could easily stretch into an hour. The street was an absolute carnival of sights and sounds. There were performing monkeys, marathon cyclists, puppet shows, and stalls filled with all these amazing snacks. She was just a little observer, soaking in every single detail of the world around her with pure, innocent joy.
Then one day, she sees something she thinks is just hilarious. There's an elder from her street carrying a small packet of vadais, which are like fried snacks, for his landlord. But he's holding it by the string stretched way out from his body like it's radioactive or something. To Bama, this is the funniest thing she has ever seen. Just a big man making a funny game out of carrying a little package.
So she runs home, so excited to tell her older brother Anand about this hilarious thing she just saw. But he isn't amused at all, and he explains the devastating truth. The man wasn't being funny. He was from a low caste, a Dalit, and the landlord was from an upper caste. He had to hold the package by the string because if he, a so-called untouchable, touched the food, it would be considered polluted. And in that single moment, Bama's entire innocent world just shatters.
That laughter just dies instantly. At first, it's replaced by sadness, but then it turns into this deep, burning anger. She is absolutely infuriated by the injustice, the sheer humiliation of seeing an elder forced to bow and shrink before another man. And the thought that just consumes her is simple, but so profound. We, too, are human beings.
So, both Zitkala-Sa and Bama had a moment in their childhood that just ripped the veil off of a deep injustice. The question is, how did these moments end up shaping them?
Well, if we put their stories side by side, we see two really different kinds of oppression, don't we? Zitkala-Sa faced forced assimilation, a direct, violent attack on her cultural identity. So her response was just as direct and physical. She fought back right then and there. Bama, on the other hand, faced the caste system, which is a much more insidious, socially ingrained kind of discrimination. Her first response was internal, this profound anger that would end up fueling a totally different kind of rebellion.
And that internal anger gets forged into a strategy for change. It's Bama's brother who gives her the key. He tells her, look, because of who we are, we will never just be given respect. But if we study hard and make progress, we can throw away these indignities. Education becomes her weapon. Anand's words lit a fire in her, and she channeled all that anger into becoming the top student in her class, earning the very respect she was once so cruelly denied.
So in the end, we have two children, two terrible injustices, and two very different paths of resistance. One was a physical struggle against a visible enemy. The other became a long-term intellectual battle against an invisible system. Both stories show us that even when children are the victims of oppression, they are never just passive. They feel the sting of indignity, and it's in those moments that the seeds of a lifelong fight for justice are sown. Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How do those seeds, planted in a child's heart, eventually grow strong enough to challenge the world?